Well done.
What's going on?
I've taken control of...
You're wrong about Simon Davenport.
Oh, I mean, he wasn't that stiff, really.
I think someone murdered Simon.
Your brother. I'll find him.
The film begins in the bustling city of Los Angeles, where a group of masked robbers is executing a daring bank heist. Amidst the chaos inside the bank, one of the robbers, Gustiffson, manages to slip away unnoticed and enters a concealed locker room. There, he retrieves an enigmatic device ominously labeled plot device. Outside, a SWAT team and police officers prepare to storm the building, but before they can make their move, an unexpected figure, Frank, disguised as a little girl, enters the bank. In a series of extravagant maneuvers, he swiftly subdues most of the robbers. However, during the turmoil, Gustiffson quietly escapes through a back alley, handing off the plot device to a shadowy figure named Richard Cain. Oblivious to this exchange, Frank believes he has everything under control and exits the scene. The following morning, Frank arrives at his office to accolades from his colleagues for thwarting the robbery. Their celebration is abruptly interrupted when their stern boss summons Frank and his partner, Ed Hawken, to her office. She informs them that several robbers are now suing the city. Frank argues that law enforcement should operate above reproach, but his boss warns that the mayor is threatening to disband the entire department due to their reckless actions, particularly after Frank's controversial arrest of McDonald's employees for not serving freedom fries. As a consequence, Frank and Hawken are reassigned to a new division focused on collisions and accidents. After their meeting, the two men share a brief conversation with their retired cop fathers before heading out to their first accident scene. There, they discover a mangled car registered to Eden Tech. While investigating, Frank uncovers two significant items, an empty medicine bottle and a peculiar matchbox. When he inquires about the victim, Hawken reveals that the man had no parents but did have a sister. Back at the precinct, Detective Barnes approaches Frank for insights into the bank robbery case. She shares that none of the robbers were acquainted and were strangely instructed to keep the money post-heist, hinting at a larger conspiracy. Frank requests that some of the robbers be brought in for questioning, and she agrees. At that moment, a woman named Beth arrives at the station seeking Frank's help regarding the accident. She identifies herself as the sister of the deceased man and fervently asserts that her brother would never have taken his own life. She recounts a phone call she received from him the night before his death, in which he mentioned uncovering something significant. When Frank probes into her brother's profession, Beth reveals he worked for Richard Cain, piquing Frank's interest as he promises to investigate further. That evening, Frank attends an opulent party hosted by Richard Cain. During their conversation, Frank questions Cain about Simon, Beth's brother who perished in the crash. Cain describes Simon as a brilliant yet troubled scientist and expresses his devastation over the tragic news. As Frank subtly suggests that Simon's death may not have been accidental, Cain dismisses the notion and offers Frank a tour of his lavish estate while praising his work. Before Frank departs, Cain discreetly instructs one of his associates to deliver an electric car to Frank as a parting gift. The following morning, a representative from Eden Tech arrives to showcase the features of the new electric car to Frank. However, during a test drive, Frank inadvertently triggers a series of comedic mishaps that not only wreak havoc in the vicinity but also lead to the unintentional release of several prisoners. Back at the police station, Frank and his partner Hawken begin interrogating one of the apprehended robbers. Initially, the man vehemently denies any involvement in the bank heist, but when Frank plays back body cam footage from the robbery, the evidence catches him in a compromising position. Faced with undeniable proof, the robber finally breaks down and reveals that their crew wasn't after cash, they were specifically targeting a safety deposit box. Upon checking the records, Frank discovers that the box in question belongs to Simon, the man who tragically died in the crash. Meanwhile, at Eden Tech, a clandestine meeting unfolds within a private boardroom where Richard Cain convenes a group of corrupt billionaires from across the globe. He unveils his audacious plan, declaring that humanity has deviated too far from its foundational values. His proposed solution? A device capable of emitting a signal through every mobile phone, inciting primal aggression among the populace and transforming cities into chaotic battlegrounds. As society descends into turmoil, Cain and his elite cabal will retreat to fortified superbunkers, insulated from the chaos. This initiative is dubbed Project Inferno, a radical societal reset with them positioned as the new architects of civilization. Back in the city, Frank pursues a lead that suggests Simon may have visited a nearby club on the night of his death. He arrives there and questions the bartender, who initially remains tight-lipped. After applying some pressure, the bartender reluctantly admits that Simon didn't engage with anyone suspicious, he simply ordered a drink. Still unconvinced, Frank requests access to the club's security footage. As he navigates toward the back room, Beth unexpectedly appears. When Frank inquires about her presence, she responds resolutely, "I'm not going to sit idly by while my brother's killers roam free." Frank admires her fierce determination. Just then, Richard Cain makes an entrance, and Frank introduces him to Beth. While they converse, Frank discreetly slips away to the security room. As he reviews the footage, he spots Simon at the bar and is taken aback to see him conversing with a well-known journalist named Douglas. This encounter suggests that Simon's visit was far from casual. Realizing that Frank might be getting too close to uncovering the truth, Cain discreetly texts Gustiffson, instructing him to follow Frank's movements. That night, Frank pays a visit to Chief Davis's house to alert her about Cain and his sinister device. However, she dismisses his concerns as yet another of his wild theories and insists he leave. Later, back at his apartment, Beth arrives and inquires about what Frank saw on the footage. Initially hesitant to involve her further, Frank remains silent until Beth playfully nudges him for answers. Eventually, he invites her inside. The atmosphere softens as they share a quiet moment together with Frank's dog. Outside, Gustiffson observes from a distance, puzzled when his thermal scope fails to clearly register Beth's heat signature. Inside, Beth and Frank share laughter and conversation before leaning in for a kiss. Over the course of the next week, their bond deepens as they explore parks, savor street food, and evade the press. For the first time in a long while, Frank begins to experience a sense of peace amidst the chaos surrounding them. But that fleeting peace is shattered in an instant. Back in Los Angeles, Frank dives back into the investigation, tracking down the last known address of Douglas, the journalist. As he steps into Douglas's apartment, a chilling sight greets him. Douglas lies lifeless on the floor. A wave of panic washes over Frank as the grim realization dawns: someone is orchestrating a setup to frame him. In a desperate attempt to conceal the evidence, he tries to move the body, but before he can devise a plan, the police storm in, guns drawn. With adrenaline surging, Frank bolts for his car and speeds away, but chaos ensues as the vehicle malfunctions. The screens flicker erratically, the doors lock ominously, and the car hurtles toward the ocean. Suddenly, Cain's voice cuts through the turmoil. "You really should have left it alone," he says coldly. "This is how I deal with people like you: frame them, silence them, and let the world believe they chose to end their own lives." Frank fights against the car's uncontrollable acceleration, desperately trying to steer it off course, but his efforts are in vain. Just as the vehicle nears the edge of the dock, he frantically taps on the console, and by some stroke of luck, unlocks the emergency door control. Kicking the window open, he leaps out just in time to escape. Hawken calls with devastating news. Frank has been accused of Douglas's murder, and footage of the crime is being broadcast citywide. The mayor swiftly shuts down their department, denouncing it as a disgrace and warning Frank to go into hiding. On the run, Frank reaches out to Beth, revealing everything that's transpired. She rushes to meet him at a safe house, tending to his injuries with a sense of urgency. While bandaging him up, she shares a chilling detail. Simon once mentioned a secret device capable of inciting instant rage and chaos among people. Suddenly, all the pieces fall into place: the safety deposit box, Simon's untimely death, Douglas's clandestine meeting at the club, and now this mysterious signal. With newfound determination burning in his eyes, Frank realizes the catastrophic implications. If Cain activates that device, society could spiral into anarchy. As the city turns against him and time slips away, he devises a daring plan: kidnap Gustiffson, Cain's right-hand man. They orchestrate an elaborate ruse to stage a fake car accident. When Gustiffson regains consciousness in what appears to be a hospital room, confusion washes over him. He glances at the TV only to see breaking news: Richard Cain has been arrested. Moments later, Frank strides into the room, posing as part of the investigation team. The sight of him sends a jolt of fear through Gustiffson, who now believes Cain has betrayed him. In a moment of vulnerability, Gustiffson divulges everything: how Cain framed Frank for Douglas's murder and his sinister plans to unleash a device designed to incite global chaos. Frank listens intently as the lights flicker on, revealing the truth. The walls around them crumble away to expose a fabricated set. It was never a real hospital. It was an elaborate trap designed to make Gustiffson crack under pressure. They achieved their objective. Meanwhile, Detective Barnes makes one final attempt to frame Frank for the murder, but with the emergence of new evidence and Gustiffson's confession, her case crumbles under scrutiny. Elsewhere, the atmosphere crackles with anticipation as preparations unfold for a monumental event at the WWFC Stadium, where a sold-out match awaits thousands of eager fans. Frank and Hawken stealthily navigate through security and weave their way through the bustling crowd. Everywhere they look, banners and screens proudly display the event's sponsor, Eden Tech. In that moment, realization dawns on Frank: time is running out, the signal is about to be activated. As the countdown begins, Beth, cleverly disguised as a young fan, stealthily maneuvers through the VIP section, a small pistol hidden in her grasp. Her target is none other than Cain. However, Cain, always a step ahead, catches sight of her just in time and orders his guards to apprehend her before she can take action. Meanwhile, on the stadium floor, Frank sprints toward a towering antenna-like device at the center stage, the Rage Amplifier. He seizes control of the device, climbs onto the platform, and desperately implores the crowd through the microphone to evacuate. Yet, his voice is drowned out by the overwhelming noise and electric energy of the event. Suddenly, Cain strides onto the scene, declaring that a new world is about to emerge as he flips the switch. A pulse surges through the stadium, radiating outward like shockwaves. Phones buzz to life, eyes glaze over, and an eerie stillness envelops the crowd before chaos erupts. Friends turn against one another, families clash in violent disputes. The insidious rage has been unleashed. Cain manipulates the frenzied crowd against Frank, who finds himself besieged as one by one, they charge at him. Yet, Frank stands resolute, evading blows and using his surroundings to his advantage, incapacitating attackers with non-lethal maneuvers. In the midst of this turmoil, Cain and his associate make their escape on a motorcycle. Spotting a nearby getaway car, Frank rushes to start it, but it sputters in defiance. Just then, he glances up to see an owl soaring down from above. His father, Frank Sr., returned in some mystical form. Without hesitation, Frank leaps onto the owl's legs, and together they ascend into the night sky. In a climactic confrontation high above the chaos below, Frank faces off against Cain in a fierce hand-to-hand battle. With a decisive final move, he knocks Cain unconscious and deactivates the signal once and for all. Gradually, calm returns to the world, phones fall silent as people shake off their frenzy and look around in bewilderment. The violence dissipates as individuals rush into each other's arms and share heartfelt embraces, a poignant reminder of their humanity. And thus, the madness draws to a close. Thank you for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.